is Allison Field, and I want to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Create Your Blank, where we share stories of amazing people who have created their blank. We share how they got started and what inspired them on their journey of creating where they are today. Our wish is for you to experience your fullest expression so that your life is full of joy and passion because you're connecting with your heart and letting it guide your path. Today, I'm so excited. We have Joey Brock in the house with us, and I'm excited to have him on and to share his story. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you, Allison. It's great to be here, and it's great to see you after our so many years of knowing each other.
Thank you. Thank you. And just for everyone, I want to share before we get started how we met. So we've known each other since 2004, I believe. So 20 years. Can you believe it? We are not aging, just the time between us.
We look just the same.
That's right.
I think we look pretty good.
I think we do look, we are aging well, love. So, and we met when I was executive director for Allie's House, which is a nonprofit organization in Dallas that works with teen mothers. And Joey was one of the first artists that came to us when we developed our signature event to raise money. It was an art auction. And Joey's piece was our signature piece that we used for our invitations and our posters and all the things. So
it was the beginning for me. I had just started becoming an artist maybe a year or so before then. And yours was like kind of my first public exposure to showing my art. And I remember my extra piece sold at auction for like a really decent price, and then obviously the donation piece. So it was kind of the start of me spreading my wings and showing my work publicly.
Yeah, so cool. And that piece was called Colors of Karma. I'm still trying to get my hands on it, but you'd have to steal it from somebody and give it to me.
Yeah, so. I think it's gone. It's been gone for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, I love our story. I love that we've been friends since. I love you so much, and I'm so excited to have you on today. So for the audience, why don't you share a little bit about what you're doing now?
Okay. Well, what I'm doing now is I am a full-time artist. I started doing artwork probably 24 years ago. So not long before I met Allison and we became friends. And I'm currently in Dallas, Texas, and I have a full-time art practice, but that wasn't always the case. You know, this is something that's kind of transpired full-time in the last 4.5 years.
Yeah. Which is amazing because I remember it took something, right? To make that leap from your cushy, nice full-time job to being a full-time artist, and tell us about that transition.
Absolutely. Well, I worked in the corporate arena for most of my life, 30 years, and 20 of that was for commercial investment banks. I was an executive assistant to commercial real estate bankers for Goldman Sachs and the Royal Bank of Canada for 20 years. So a very different arena from the art world arena, but it was a great tool for me when becoming an artist because you kind of learn how to present yourself in a corporate environment and be organized and on time and all the things that sometimes artists aren't. Sometimes they're just strictly creative, and you know how to talk with people and be professional and things like that. But I did my art along the way with my corporate job. So I'd work corporate and I'd go home and paint, and I got some of my first gallery representation while I worked in corporate. So that's when my, I'd say, professional art career came, when I was able to land a serious gallery here in Dallas. So I was doing both for many years, and it was a lot of work, and I worked really hard. So it was nice when I could go full time.
Yeah, I bet. And that's a huge transition, and it takes a leap of faith, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I was laid off in 2020 during the pandemic, And honestly, I was ready to go. I was just, my job wasn't as busy because my bankers weren't traveling. I was the executive assistant to the managing director, global head of all commercial real estate for the Royal Bank of Canada. So, it's a very intense job. Sometimes you're dealing with multiple priorities and keeping multiple bankers organized. So, but I was really over it. I didn't want to do it anymore. My heart had not been in it for some time. And when I got laid off, my neighbor, who was an oil painter and a good friend, she goes, Joey, you know what? Why don't you think about making the transition to full-time artist? It's time. You've been doing this a long time. Why don't you go for it? Because she had been doing that. And during the pandemic was kind of a strange time to make that decision.
Right.
But I had a offer with my severance package and other things, savings and stuff. So that's when I decided to take the leap.
Very cool.
And honestly, it wasn't as scary as I thought. At first it was, and then I was like, it's amazing once I made the decision to be an artist and go that route. It's amazing how quickly that whole corporate life went away. It's almost like I'd never done it. Like I just left it behind. I was like, I shut that door. And when I look back, I go, God, I spent 20 years of my life doing that, but it doesn't even seem like part of my life. Like I've so moved away from it.
When you committed. And I think that's the key. When you finally are ready to make that commitment to being full-time devoted to your craft, right? Versus having it be a part-time situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so quick. I was like, I had to think, God, did I do that? Did I experience that part of my life? Because I just moved on from it. Like I was just done. And, it's got its challenges. I miss that steady paycheck and those benefits and all that.
Yeah.
That is a challenging part. But the freedom that I've been granted to do something I enjoy every day. And yes, it's hard work, but it's hard work for me and it's hard work for my soul. Yeah. And that makes the work feel more like joy.
Yeah. 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 And that is a huge thing. Energetically, as an energy coach, I look at that and think, when you are 100% committed to your craft and 100% in it, like all in, it just changes your energy, right? It changes your energy, not only for your day, but for your level of creativity, right?
Absolutely. It gives you the freedom to create, and like you're not stifled in this certain time frame. And if you work, you can work at the middle of the night, you can work early in the morning. If you want to take 2 hours off during the day and go on a picnic with a good friend, and you can do that. And it's great to have that freedom, right? So I still have that corporate in me where I stay regimented. I get up and come in. That's just part of my DNA for organization. But
and it creates a sort of good work ethic for you, because right, as an entrepreneur and as an artist, your corporate environment gave you the kind of structure that you find probably helpful in doing your craft every day and creating your ethic and structure around your work.
Right? Yeah, because the only one here pushing me is me. And so it's up to me to set the schedule, set the timeline, find clients, deal with the galleries, deal with my website. It's not just making work, it's everything. It's entrepreneurial. So, you're out networking and all that. So that did give me a great skill set. And even I used to have a live-work situation. And I'd say there's positives to that and also negatives, because your work is always there. You don't get a chance to close the door and go, I'm not going to work on that anymore. So one thing I did was I made my bed every day. That's like the start, the first accomplishment of the day. I read, you make your bed, that's your first accomplishment of the day. Yeah. So that's the tone to where, okay, this is a career, this is a goal, setting the tone for the day. I know that sounds probably unusual, but it really does work.
It does work. I used to not make up my bed, and I used to just throw the covers over and think, oh, that's good enough. And I'd go throughout my day. But I have really leaned into that practice, and it's the yumminess of, setting up the day.
Yeah.
It feels like a grounding activity for me to make up my bed and have it look pretty. And when I walk past my bedroom, it looks nice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
mhm.
It sets the
It's,
tone. So
yeah.
that was a tool I used, being in a live work scenario, because even though it was kind of separated off with a big curtain screen, it's like a big loft area. I could see the bed. So to walk around and see that tousled and
Yeah.
not put together kind of disjointed me and my
Yeah.
being grounded for the day.
Yeah. And isn't that cool that just becoming aware of the things that bring you more energy and serve you well versus the things that don't, that you can release? Isn't that cool how just one simple thing like that changes the trajectory of your day, right?
Absolutely. And another thing, a practice that I do my best to practice is a meditation. I don't get it done every day, but I can assure you that the days that I do it sets the tone for my day. If I woke up kind of grumpy or I'm like feeling a little bit down, you do a gratitude meditation, and the first thing you can be thankful for is being alive. So, I mean, you can always find something, no matter how bad your life is or what it seems bad at the time. You can find things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for this bed that gave me a comfortable sleep. I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful for being alive, So you can set your tone and also set your intentions for the day. If you wake up feeling a little anxious, it will help ground you and release that energetic, anxious activity. And I always have a better day if I start with a meditation.
Love, I am the same way. I woke up the other morning and I posted about it actually. I woke up the other morning feeling just weird. Just a foggy head, and I think it was a result of maybe weird dreams and not really remembering what they were, but just it left me kind of foggy. And I went into a meditation and it totally cleared the airspace, right?
It
Changed my
does.
day, set me up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And some days I say connect with spirit or higher energy better than others. And I can always tell when I do. It's exhilarating. And some days I don't connect, but I still set the intentions and try to release and bring in the positive energy and release the negative, whether it be fear-based or anxiousness or whatever. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
I would like to be better, but I do the best I can.
You know what? We always do the very best we can, and that is perfect. We don't have to be perfect. Thank God.
Well, we wouldn't even obtain it if we tried. So
right. I mean, we are perfect, but
we are perfectly imperfect, right?
That's right. That's right. And so there's beauty in that too, and in the imperfections, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about your art. I want to talk about your art behind you, and I want to talk about I know you and the process that you go through, because you're so active on social media and I love it. So anybody can go to Instagram, check out Joey. He does, live videos of his process, which is really cool to see. But let's talk about it from your perspective for a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my work has evolved through the years, and Allison knows this. I started out as being an abstract artist. And in 2018, I had turned 50, and I was ending a relationship and going through a lot of life changes. Like, what is the next 50 years going to look like for me? How much time you start thinking about how much time do I have left, and what do I want to do? The things you don't think about when you're younger, like, oh, I get all the time in the world, I'll live forever.
That's
and
right.
then you started realizing your end time might be nearer than you think. And so I did. My friend Bonnie, whose work is right behind you, had done a residency in New York and Brooklyn, and she goes, Joey, you should really think about doing this. And I was like, you know what? I think it would really help me grow, because I was feeling very stagnant in my art practice. I wanted to do work that I did beautiful work, and it was successful most of the time. But I kept shifting, and I wanted to grow, and I wanted to have an art practice that had a bit more meaning and substance to it for me. And
Yeah.
so I did that residency, and we had a subject matter that was the theme that we would be doing a show for and creating the work for that show. And the show was called Hide and Seek, What We Hide and Reveal in Our Art. And
Interesting.
yeah, what we hide and reveal in our art. So a good friend of mine had given me a book on Robert Mapplethorpe, which his work can be very controversial and in your face. And I told him I wanted to do a self-portrait. I said, I just turned 50. I wanted to look at how growing up a gay man in Texas had affected me during the AIDS crisis. And I just wanted to look at what that looked like and explore it. So I did a self-portrait. And it evolved through the residency from what I thought it would be to doing critical thinking and dialogue with other artists and see, it was a moment it snapped. And I was like, oh, wow. And I stripped it down to its bare minimum of what the work was about. And he said to me, Joey, are you going to go back to Dallas? And this is him. He's a very blunt New Yorker artist, been around forever. He said, are you going to go back and make fluff art? Or are you going to go cross the threshold and do something that's more serious? I was like, okay.
Perfect.
He threw the gauntlet down at me.
That's
and
right.
I was like, okay. So I
Fluff art.
that I did another residency or two, and I created this show called The One Portrait Project. It's about people's experience with discrimination, because I had experienced a lot of discrimination growing up and how it affected me. And so that was kind of the beginning of what I do now, which is mixed media portraits. And I focus on celebrating humanity, focusing more on our marginalized communities or women, especially these days, attacked and rights taken away. And so those are subjects and people that are dear to my heart. But I'm expanding that now and being more inclusive. But I'm still telling those stories, and it's still a very important part of my practice.
Yeah, beautiful. And your medium has shifted big time. So share about that.
Well, it has. People said, oh, you've changed so much. But I've been using Mylar, which is the material I use. It's a drafting film that's semi-transparent, synthetic. It's kind of a milky, sexy kind of material. I've been using that since early on. In the very beginning with my abstract work. And so I'm still using that material, but now I'm doing portraits which are photography based. I take the photos with my iPhone and I use those to start the imagery for the photos. And I'm not doing that as much now, but on a lot of my shows, I'll do interviews with the people that sign on to be a subject for the work. And, I started with friends in the beginning because that was the easier people to convince to do it, right? Because you're really exposing yourself. You're doing an interview. I'm taking a photo. So now I can go out and approach people and give them my card and say, this is what I'm doing. You can take a look. See if you're interested. If you are, contact me. And we go from there.
Oh, so I love it. Go ahead.
So they'll come to the studio if they agree to do it, and we'll start with the interview, and then we will do the portrait after that.
Beautiful. So. Beautiful. I love that so much. So you actually get to know them.
Yeah, and it kind of gives me a sense for who they are and kind of read into their energy. And a lot of times, depending on some shows, some of my work is more surface and visual, but when I do shows that are really addressing subject matter that I want to give elevate or give representation to, we'll go deeper. And people get really emotional talking about their experiences, especially in the LGBT plus community and the discrimination they faced, the transgender community. So those conversations can be pretty deep and emotional, but I try to hold space for people to feel safe and to be able to talk about those things.
I love that. And I love that about you, Joey, so much because you do provide that safe space for people and give them freedom to be able to connect intimately with you and share their stories. And then have you, in holding that space, then you create this amazing work of art that reflects that energy about that person and the layers of that person.
And whether I use the interview or not, it doesn't matter to me so much. there has been shows where I had the audio playing, but I didn't associate it with any particular person. I wanted it to be very fluid. I didn't want you to know whose image tied to to the the audio portion. But sometimes
Yeah.
it's just a chance for me to read in and feel their energy and
Yeah.
go into that
Yeah.
place.
Oh, okay. So sometimes you air the interview with it.
My first show, the One Portrait Project, the one about discrimination, the
Uh-huh.
interviews were a very important part because people talked about it's not just about racial discrimination, it's misogyny, it's discrimination about people's weight, it's socioeconomic, it's discrimination within races of communities based on being mixed race or lighter skin, darker skin. It's a plethora. Like, it was so fascinating to hear people's perspectives. It
Yeah.
could be religious based. It covered the whole gamut. And
Nice.
it was fascinating to hear those stories. So in that particular show, I did have the audio because it was a very important part of what the work was about.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I did not know that. I want to go back and look at some of that. So are you in a position where you can share a little bit?
Sure. I mean, there's work all around me. My studio's like covered in work, but I'll just start with this one right here. Can I turn this so you can see it?
Yep.
It's kind of, there's a little bit of a glare in here, but kind of
Yeah.
a bad glare. We'll go this way.
Okay.
But you can see this piece right here.
Uh-huh.
This one's called Finet, like finished. This was a neighbor of mine, AJ, and he was out. I saw him outside his place, and he was in the middle of dyeing his hair that fabulous, I call it kiwi color. And he had his rubber gloves on from doing the dye job, and he was talking to my friend Liz, and he was being so expressive and emotive, and I just started snapping pictures of him, and I captured all these different moments. And so this piece is kind of an evolution for me because usually my photos are very confronting and straightforward and traditional looking. And this was where I want to start exploring, movement and capturing the energy of the moment. And I think this captures the energy of the moment. Like, you're looking at this kind of freeze frame of him talking about something and being very passionate about it.
Oh my God, I love it. I love how the movement in it and I feel the expressiveness.
Yeah, you don't have to see his face, even though his face is incredibly expressive. And I wanted to cover the faces in this one, which I typically don't, because I wanted anyone to put themselves into that place. But I wanted the movement and his energy to be captured through everything else, not necessarily his face. And I think it does that. So that was kind of a fun challenge for me.
That's really cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
And then over here, let me unplug this. This is a work that showed in LA, and it's called Head Trip. And it says, "How do you run from what's inside your head?"
Right. Shut it up.
And there's lots of symbolism in it in a way because, like on this one I also covered the face, but which he's a skateboarder, and I met him. He was skateboarding in our neighborhood, and I was sitting at my neighbor Kelsey's house chatting with her on her sofa. And I saw him skateboarding across the street. So, of course, I was like, oh, I need to grab him. And I ran out, and I ran up to him, and he looked at me like, oh, God, this old guy's about to tell me to stop skateboarding in the neighborhood. And I was like, no. I could just read his mind. And I said, no, it's not what you think. I'm an artist. And I said, it'd be fun to do a photo of you sometime if you're interested. And he did. He came over. And we captured this. I've also done one with his face showing that was in a show.
Oh, I love it.
But for this particular one, I was experimenting with covering the faces. And so it's like, how do you run from what's inside your head? Well, he's got a skateboard. He could run away on that skateboard if he wants. But
yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. So that's that one.
I love that.
Thank you. Let's
Really
see.
cool.
Some of them have a little bit of a glare from the plexi and the light.
Yeah.
This one's called God Save the Queen. It's kind of got a punk rock edge.
I love it. I hope it captures on the camera for everybody to see because they're magnificent.
This one is Stone Mecca. He is a local musician. Also, well, he tours, of course. He's a guitarist and a vocalist. His name's Stone Mecca, and he also spends time in Los Angeles, too.
Did
but
I
I
meet
met
him
him.
at the show in LA when I came? I think I
No,
met
no,
him.
he wasn't
No?
there. No, he wasn't
Okay.
there. You met my
Okay.
friend Hunter, who was on the billboard with the pink
Oh,
hair.
yes.
Well, he had
Yes.
blonde hair at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
someone totally different. So that's,
I
and
love
then
it.
yeah, oh man, he's very cool.
Yeah.
This is Dylan Bloom. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah. That's really cool. Oh, that's super cool, Joey.
Very mixed media. This has been in a museum show in Arkansas, which is
Mhm.
a small university. That's the museum's called BAM, and it was a school on the far edge of Arkansas, and
Uh-huh.
so they put this piece on the postcard for the show, which was somewhat controversial because it was actually a queer show, and so all the artists did queer themed subject matter, but they had
Mhm.
this piece along with I think four or five other of my portraits from the original series. So it's pretty cool
Very cool.
that it was
That
in
is very cool. So, Joey, love, if somebody wanted to do a commission with you for their portrait being done this way, this artistic way, is that available?
Absolutely. In fact, I've been working on 3 different commissions for
Uh-huh.
people. You know, sometimes people see my work that I post on Instagram or Facebook, and they'll be interested. And I just finished up one for some clients of my new Texas series, which is paying homage to people and the vibe of Texas. Not necessarily a
Mhm.
cowboy, but they do lean that way. But it's all
Yeah.
different types of people.
Yeah.
And I just did a commission, and I just did a commission for some clients out in Palm Springs. I've done one, I got to do the other one. So I do commissions, and I love doing them. If people have the confidence to give me some information, let me see what I'm working with, and let me run with it.
Uh-huh.
Because if you try to handcuff an artist too much, it really stifles the creative process. So
I did that once for a nanosecond and then I let it go.
yeah, it does. It's really stifling to the process. You know,
Yeah.
just got to kind
Yeah,
of
just have fun with it.
let them do it. Let them
Yeah.
do the vision and trust the process. Right. That's what I say.
Yes.
But yes, I am available for that. My website is joeybrockart.com.
Cool.
JoeyBrockArt.com. And my last name is not Brockart, even though my Instagram is at Joey Brockart. And I had a new friend one time say, "Oh my God, for the longest time I thought your last name was Brockart." And I was like, "No, it's
Too bad, so sad, right? That would be really cool to have that back art,
well, when you
as
go on my Instagram, it says Joey Brock, but
right.
my my Instagram, address is at Joey Brockart. So I always got a big kick out of that. They thought
That's
my last
cool.
name was Brockart.
That's cool. Okay, what has inspired you? What or who has inspired you the most as relates to your artistic process and journey?
You mean from an artist or just any person in general, or?
Either or both. What has inspired you the most?
Well, I'm inspired by a lot of different artists. Robert Mapplethorpe was one of the first people to inspire me in the beginning, which his work is very different from what I do. But I was inspired by his boldness and fearlessness with doing what he wanted to do, even though it was very controversial and it made people uncomfortable. I would say my mentor out of New York, Michael David, has been a big inspiration for me. He pushed me out of my comfort zone. He always challenges me. I a lot of times talk back, and I stand my ground if it's something I believe in. But he's really been a great mentor to me. Some artists I like today, I just went blank all of a sudden. Micheline Thomas is a big artist that I love that does mixed media portraits. She's amazing. She's very, very big right now and just has exploded, and her work's amazing. Chuck Close's portraits are very interesting. Those are some of the artists that inspire me. And there's a lot of mixed media artists too. I mean, Francis Bacon, of course, is inspiring. You can't see direct reference, but there is some things that you could pull from that. Those are some of the things and people that inspire me.
Yeah. And I know from your travels, landscape and things out in nature are inspiring, and you incorporate that sometimes in your work, right?
I did years ago. Oh, no, one other person, Andy Warhol. There's a big correlation to Andy Warhol in my work also. Can't believe I
Yeah.
forgot that one. There used to be a lot of nature kind of inspiration in my work. Not so much now. It's more about the person and the people. But back in the beginning, it had a very modern landscape feel. And it's good. Nature is important to get out into.
Yeah.
Can ground you and rejuvenate you to connect back with nature. We don't do that enough, especially if you live in the city.
That's right. That's
You
right.
tend to like, and then when you do it, you're like, oh, I can breathe. It's
Yeah. Yeah. And that fuels your artistic creativity, your energy, just
yes,
getting out.
and travel, which I unfortunately haven't been able to do a lot of travel that's been just for fun. It's the travel I've been doing the last few years has been for business. If I'm going to a show in New York or going out to Provincetown for my preview, they're cool places to go. Don't get me wrong, but it always seems like it's work related. I really have been longing to get away and I go to a city to check out the art scene or look at the art.
Yeah.
I need to get up to Colorado or somewhere where I can hike and just not have to do anything about art. Just be with myself and nature and breathe and just relax. That's very
important. Yeah, it's so important. Self-care is so important. And I think it's important to step back from our work and clear that space. And then we can come back and see it with new eyes, right?
Absolutely. And I don't do that nearly enough. So this is reminding me I need to do it because I feel like I'm always working, I'm always thinking, I'm always producing, I'm always going to something to network or support other artists. And I don't feel like I just go, okay, I am going to go out of town for the weekend and just turn it all off. I think you just reminded me I need to plan because I don't do it enough. Yeah.
I don't either. We need to add that to our planners. Just, sketch it out and schedule it out. Commit to that ourselves.
You burn out. I'll burn out, and I have so much to get done work-wise. I almost run the factory, so to give yourself those weekends or even a full day is so vital. And no matter what you do, what career, it's so important from a spiritual and health level.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Joey, that I think is a wrap for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me. And it was wonderful having you on the show and learning all about your journey. So if people want to reach out to you, you said earlier they can connect at joeybrockart.com.
Yeah, that has my phone number and email address in there.
Okay.
And also social media. If they send me a direct message on social, start following me. Please follow me.
Perfect.
Instagram is where I post mostly. I am on TikTok, but I'd say Instagram is, and Facebook too, but I feed everything from Instagram to Facebook.
Yeah.
So Instagram, great. And you can send me a direct message and I respond to everyone. So
yeah, I love that about you. And that's wonderful. And in the show notes, we'll put that in there, all of his links to his social media platforms for you.
Thank you.
So that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed this segment, feel free to add comments as we'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to receive notification of future episodes, please click that subscribe button. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in. And we are sending you lots of love and we hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us.